Welcome to all. Today's class we are going to study Social Science Class 6. We are moving to the first chapter. Chapter 1, When, Where, and How. When, where, and how are three questions we use in our day-to-day life. For example, whenever an accident takes place, we ask these three questions within our life, or within our friends, or within our surroundings, or within our. Whenever we talk to some people, we used to use these three questions. When does this accident take place? Where does this accident take place, and how does this accident take place? So these three questions we continuously ask in our day-to-day life. In the same way, while you're studying history, when you ask these three questions, you will be able to get the answer to some of the hidden factors and hidden things that is within it. So when does this historical moment or historical aspect or historical period take place? Where does this historical period take place, and how this historical period or historical ruler got that much importance in that period? So each of these questions will give you more answer of history when you frame question and study history, and it will be more interesting for a student who's studying this history when he or she asks these three questions uh, when they study history. Moving to the first topic, why do we study the past? The reason why we need to study the past is that you will be able to see three images. So in these three images, you'll be able to see a family's images. And in these three images, if you see, if you want to know more past, if you ask your parents, you'll be able to get some of the information. But your parents' information will be of a period in which when they was born and up to their life experience and right now what they are living. For your parents, let's say your parents is having age of 40, so your parents will be having a 40 years of experience. Whereas if you have a grandparents in home, let's say if your grandparents is having 75 years old, your grandparents is having 75 years of experience. So if you ask your parents or if you ask your grandparents, you will get past experience about their life and how was economic condition, social condition, political condition, and what kind of rule was dominating during that period. Every information you'll be able to know from your grandparents or parents of their past events or past information. So if you know the past information, so it will be more interesting, and you will be able to ask more and more information if you know the past information from your grandparents regarding the early India or early ancient India and medieval India, everything. And another example we can point out, why do we need to study the past, is the best example is telephone. If you see telephone to mobile phone development, there were n number of stages. If you see telephone, from telephone to mobile phone, there were changes, drastic changes, and these changes is not take place within 2 to 3 years. It take place between different years and different time period, and each time period they used to create more and more technology. And whenever they used to create technology, and if there is any kind of limitation or failure, they used to study from that, and they used to create other technology to compensate it. And now we have smartphone. Nowadays we have a smartphone with lot many facilities, and smartphone is kind of a mini computer. Within that we'll be able to call, we'll be able to chat, we have a video call, everything. So the reason why I have pointed out all these examples is that if you know the past, you will not commit any mistake in the present or future. So it is very important to know the past. Only if you know the past, you will be able to study. I mean, you'll be able to study the present or future. So if you do not know the past in history, especially, you will not be able to understand the other lesson, or you will not be able to understand what all things, or what are the important movements, what are the important kingdoms, what are the important kind of dynasties, what are the importance of studying the past, and how the transportation facilities, how are the kind of era, and what are the importance of people, how the agricultural sector was going on during the in historical period and industrial revolution, and how foreigners was dominating. So every information of history you need to know more clearly if you know the past. So it's very important to know and study the past. We all have seen different kind of bridges in our life. So if you're traveling in any of the places, if you're traveling from one bridge to other bridge. Every bridge is having one from beginning from one end to the other end. So we can consider one end, that is one end we can consider our past, and or to the other end we can consider our present. So without starting from bridge, that is if you want to go to one place, without, if there is a kind of an bridge, without crossing the bridge you will not be able to cross the other way. So bridge is the way which connect from past to the present. So same how we are able to travel from one place to other place with the help of bridge. So if we know the past, we will be able to come to the present, and with the past information we get n number of ideas and we will not commit any mistake. So some of the past keeps on continuing till today, and you can see some of the past, some of the cultural, some of the religious impacts, some of the other kind of languages, some of the other kind of customs, practices, everything. It keeps on continuing till today. And some of the past have changed, and for the change, and some changes have brought out different changes at the present. Some of the past is recorded for the process of change that gone through to shape the present. So as I said, so if the past is being recorded, so it is usually that recorded information or recorded of the past can change, and that can shape the present. That is why we say that history is like a bridge. Next, we are going to see the difference between history and prehistory. History means the period for which we have recorded information of the past is called history. That all information example we have already seen. Whereas prehistory means the period for which we have no recorded information of the past is called prehistory. Dates of many events that occurred thousand years ago have recorded by people at time of their occurrence, that is from history. That is during historical times, people who live in 1,000 years, that is people who live before 1,000 years, they have marked different dates and important events, and there are people who during that period they used to mark. So that is the reason why some of the historical important dates and events even now also we will be able to recollect and study more and more, since they have recorded it. Whereas in prehistory, during the period of time, it's the period of time between appearance of early human. Early humans means we have already studied early humans in previous classes of class 4, 5. So already studied about the difference, the appearance of human being. So and the development of art of writing. So during those time, that is in prehistory, the development of art of writing was not that popular. So that is the reason why we were not able to get more information or recorded of the past of prehistory. So that is regarding history and prehistory. The next topic we are going to cover is dates and their importance. So, whenever we arrange important dates of the past events in history, we need to arrange like this. That is, we are studying more dates and their information in the past. So, if you are arranging the dates you should not arrange the dates in such a way that you like. There is a proper way of arrangement of dates and events. That is the first, from beginning we need to arrange which event take place in the first. That is the which is the first important dates or information we need to arrange the first, and when you are arranging the last, which is the event that take place in the last. So such a way, if you are arranging the events from the beginning to the end, it will be easy to know what are the basic information about. Let's say if you are going to study the important dates and information about about the dynasty, so about a kingdom. So if you are arranging in such a way about the event that take place in the first and which event that take place in the last, so it will be easy for you to learn, and it will be easy for you to understand everything within a fraction of seconds. Recording events in the order in which they happen is called as chronology. So chronological order is the way in which we arrange these past events. In history, we will be arranging the period into two categories. One is BCE and CE. So you can see in this image, BCE is on the left side and CE on the right side. So what is the full form of BCE? BCE means before common era, and whereas CE means common era. Before common era means that is before the birth of Christ is called as before the common era. That is before the birth, that is the birth of Christ. We are all considering as a before common era. Whereas common era means year of birth of Christ. That is the year in which the Christ is the birth of Christ. We are considering as common era. And whenever we count the dates or kind of and whatever incidents that take place in BC, we always count backwards in the sense that, for example, from 10, 9, 8, like that we count on. Whereas in say common era we counted forward. That is the arrow mark I have pointed out. So forward and backwards. Backwards is counting backwards is BC, and common era we will be counting towards forward. Forward means 1, 2, 3. And if you are seeing on the top, you'll be able to see the century. On C, that is common era, we are considering as a century, and we are beginning from the first century, and now we all live in the 21st century. That is at present. The next topic we are going to cover is the geographical factors and their importance. So if you are seeing, you'll be able to see three images here. So in these three images, we are going to study how the geographical factors have got very importance in the shaping of history. So in the northern part of subcontinent that lies in the Himalayan range, separating India from Central Asian countries. So if you're seeing on the top of the, I mean the top on the second image, if you see Greater Himalayan range, in the Greater Himalayan range, so it is separating India from Central Asian countries such as Tibet, China, and other countries. So it is a, Indian subcontinent, so it is separated in Central Asian countries, and we are going to see three major features of the geographical factors and their importance in this map. The first factor we are going to see is that people used to travel to India through narrow paths called passes in the mountain. The blending of the culture of the people of India and those who travel to India for new customs and cultures. We know that the Indian custom and culture, most of the custom and culture, most of the culture, custom and culture is not ours, but the people who came to India has given all this custom and cultures, and we still follow some of the custom and cultures, whereas some of the custom and cultures we are not following it up. So that is because of the people who come from narrow path of the mountains and their culture and customs we used to practice even now. Other important feature of the Indian subcontinent is the vast fertile plains of rivers Indus and river Ganga that you can see in the second images of rivers, Indus rivers and river Ganga. That two rivers has been having a very vast fertile plains. So what happened is that fertile plains, since we have a fertile plains, so most of our first human settlement who used to live in this region, and they came into existence here. The third major feature of the subcontinent is we call the southern peninsula or Deccan Plateau. This region is full of mountains, river valleys, and plateaus. Over the past of thousand years, people of these regions have developed their own unique identities, bringing in a great diversity of the culture of history. So you can see a Deccan Plateau in the third image. So within this kind of, we call the Deccan Plateau or Southern Plateau, it's kind of a subcontinent. In this place, you will be able to see mountains, full of mountains, river valleys, and plateaus over the past thousand years, and it's kind of unique identities and bring diversity to different kind of cultures to our country. So that is regarding geographical factors and their importance. The next topic we are going to cover is sources of history. What do you mean by sources? Sources means there are n number of information through which we'll be able to get more information regarding the topic or the information what we want to know. If you want to know source of information or any kind of information at present, we'll be able to Google it up and we'll be able to get a number of information. Whereas in history, if you want to know more information about history, you will not be able to Google everything. In history, there are only two ways to know all the kind of information or any kind of sources of history. One is literary sources and second is archaeological sources. What in by literary sources means Literary sources were transferred from orally from one generation to other person, or from person to person before they were written down. Literary sources include written record of the past, social life, political life, economic condition of the time when it composed. So literary sources means all literary sources were orally means from mouth to mouth, a person to person. That image you can see on the top of literary sources. So from person to person, these information were transferred, and the transfer information were recorded in the past of their social life. Social life means the societal life, the society in which they live, how was the society, what kind of people live in the society, what kind of custom, culture, everything in the society. So all kind of societal life, everything will comes under in the record of the past. Then the political life, how was the political life during those period. Economic condition means the financial stability, how was the economic condition, and how what are the different kind of jobs, and what were the different kind of works they do, all kind of economic condition of that time. Everything were composed in literature, in literature, like a literary sources in the past with a recorded information. So that is regarding literary sources. Some of the literary sources which gives more informations are sacred and secular texts, indigenous and foreign literature, then inscriptions. So these are the three various other literature through which we are be able to get more information regarding the literary sources of information of history. So if you see literary sources, you will be able to get information or the recorded information written in the past. So it is a written recorded information already. We will be able to refer it up through literary sources. Whereas archaeological sources we will not be able to get written information, but we will be able to get information by digging or excavation. We will be able to get lot many items or products such as either bonds or either monuments or some kind of images or pictures, some kind of coins, and some kind of artifacts and everything. So these all information when they analyze, and they will be able to find out these is kind of, I mean, any kind of let's say about coins, they will be able to find out this coins is having a history about a few period, and this coin belongs to BCE, any kind of BCE, let's say about BCE 4000 or BCE 10,000. So they are able to find out through their process of scientific study of the past and what they discovered. So these all archaeological sources will give more information about the study of history through kind of I mean the research what they do by scientific study. So some of the archaeological sources are main can be considered as in monuments, coins, and other objects and artifacts. Next, we are going to see the detailing the literary, what are the different literary sources. The beginning of the literary sources you'll be able to find is that manuscripts. Manuscript means in ancient time, people had no knowledge in writing paper. So they used the bark of peach tree or palm leaves to write books. Even now, manuscripts are now preserved in monasteries and library, and you can able to see some of the pictures of manuscript, and these are the pictures you'll be able to see. I mean, these all pictures are taken. That is, are manuscripts, and these are the palm leaves. I mean, you'll be able to see a lot many palm leaves, and these palm leaves they used to write books, and they used to tie it, and they used to tie it and preserve. And even now, you can see some of the books in some of the monasteries and libraries. Next literary source we are going to see is sacred literature and secular literature. Secular literature means literature that deals with religious subjects are called sacred literature, whereas secular literature means literatures that are focused on social, political, and economic subjects are called secular literature. So that is the difference between sacred literature and secular literature. Sacred means it's also it includes subjects of religious, whereas secular means it includes the subjects of social, political, and economic subjects. And next, we are going to see indigenous literature and foreign literature. Indigenous literature means the literature, the literature, the literary text written in the past of people who live in our country are called as indigenous literature, whereas foreign literature means the literature written by foreigners who visited India at different point of time and recorded their experiences are collectively called as foreign literature. Next, we are going to see about inscriptions. Inscriptions means they are writing found engraved on stone tablets, pillars, metals, walls of caves, etc. You have we will be able to see these all stone tablets, pillars, metal plates, walls of caves, etc. in different monuments, temples, palaces, etc. Wherever if you visited all the monuments, we'll be able to see all these stone tablets, pillars, metal walls, walls of caves, etc. Then we are going to see about archaeological sources. The archaeological sources we have already seen in the introduction of archaeological sources. What is archaeological sources? Archaeological sources means we'll be able to get more information through archaeological sources by digging when the archaeological department when they dig or when they excavate a lot many from the underground soil or when they discover lot many archaeological findings. They'll be able to get lot many monuments, coins, etc. So we are going to see what are the detailing, what are monuments, what are information they get from monuments, coins, etc. First, to the monuments. Monuments and structures are found during excavation at various sites and tell us about condition of times during which they were built. Most of these, such as temples, suttas, palaces, and private houses, were erected. Erected means it is created or religious. Erected for religious or social purposes. So from monuments, each of the archaeological their department they used to find out how many years this monument were built on, what were the different kind of materials were used for this infrastructure such as stones, and what are the different kind of variety paintings were used inside the monuments and including palaces, temples, and what are the different kind of artistic works done in stones and different paintings used will be etc. Discovered and they will be researched in archaeological sources of monuments, whereas coins of the archaeological information and sources they will be observing how which period these coins were established, and by analyzing the coins archaeological sources when they analyze the coins are the when the coins will be able to understand two things. One is social and economic condition of the country. So each coin specifies a social and economic condition of the country, and their circulation, that is if a coin is circulated from one place to another place, other place or other country will be able to know the economic condition of the period and when the coin is issued. That is every coin will be issuing in a small period of time. So within this period of time the coins will be marked which period the coins is being established or which period this coin is being made up. So that period is issued. So by the circulation of the idea of economic condition we'll be able to know it up. They also tell us about the extent of a particular kingdom and its relationship with distinct areas. The particular kingdom means we will be able to know which kingdom this coins is related to. For example, I have point out images over here. So first image you'll be able to see a coin with the emblem of Maida, where it's assumed there's a king, and the second picture you'll be able to see the emblem of the kingdom or the particular region where this coin is. So we'll be able to study coin detailing through analysis of these images and everything. We'll be able to get more information, and the study of coins is called numismatics. Other objects and artifacts. Archaeological sources also include many other objects and artifacts found during excavation or digging process, such as tools used by the people in the past, pieces of pottery, sculptures, paintings, ornaments, etc. And each of these images, what you see, they tell us more about who created them and when they were made. Archaeologists also study plants remains, animals bones, and food grains. Plants remains you will be able to see in these images. Then animal bones and footprints buried underground and found at different sites. So if you've seen all these different sites images, you'll be able to see on the last image. And whenever the archaeological department, when they collect all these images, they will be studying it and they will be having a small kind of record and they will be recording it. And all these kind of archaeological sources, what they get, they will be collecting and they will be storing it either of museum or kind of library. They will be storing it up because it is a kind of an sources of information. You'll be getting n number of information. Some of, I mean, if you study of if you study one of the I mean any kind of let's say about sculptures, pottery, paintings and ornaments, n number of informations can be found out from scientific and scientific study, and also through research work you'll be able to find out n number of information. And by this archaeological sources, and chapter is going to come to an end. So these are the important aspects of this chapter.